Oh, hey there, and we're live. And how you doing? What's up? What's up? So knock knock. Who's there? Polar bear. It's too late, cause global warning killed him. Now he stinks. Ugh, you go. What? And that's pretty much what's going on around us. What? You know, today was my last doctor appointment, and I'm in pretty good shape. You know, 9 out of 10 doctors say that Al Bob isn't, for a dead guy, he's really healthy. So, uh, that's where I'm at. And so, how many of you too watched my video of last night where I showed some video that I shot at a friend of mine's um, Kwanzaa celebration, right? Hmm. And that was a great example of what our little traveling circus could be, and they're up for it. They're all up for it. Anyway, so it's dark, and when it gets dark, I get tired. When the sun rises, even if it's raining or snowing or whatever, um, I wake up. When the sun goes down, I get tired. But I've been, um, I got back here about 2 o'clock, and I started looking on the internet about what I was going to talk about, and I watched some of those hearings, and I read the report that came out by the Justice Department's guy who, was supposed to, be not prejudiced about anything, but shows you what's going on. And he basically said, "Oh, the investigation into Trumpy was not, the beginning of the investigation wasn't, a criminal event, but the, oh, you know, the there were slip ups, and you can tell I'm really excited about all this stuff. And Jimmy Dore. Now there's some guy you should go watch. He, here is a 2-bit drunk. No, he's not drunk, but a 2-bit. Um, he calls himself a jackoff. 2-bit jackoff, a comedian, living in his mother's basement, puts on a YouTube news show in his mother's garage, and he is doing a better job than all of the other um, news medias put together. CNN, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, Fox, you name it, right? And when people tell me their opinion, I usually say to them, "Well, you're prejudiced," and they go, "Well, some of my best friends are black," and I say, "No, you're not. That's racist." Prejudice is when you have an opinion that you believe is true. You have no objective proof to show it, but oh boy. So MSNBC is probably the most to blame because it has been, the only thing it does is go on and on. First, it talked about the investigation for 2.5 years, and then nothing showed up. And now they're going on about his things with the Ukraine and other things. And see what you do when you do that, when you spend all that kind of energy saying that this guy's going to jail, he's the worst thing since ever, and then you just see that he is no worse than any other politician. He's scum. Yes, he's a moron. Yes, he's a, self-centered nihilist psychopath. Yes, but so are they all. You name me one um, politician that doesn't have it. Now, some are better than others. Like the Tulsi Gabbard, who's a congresswoman from Hawaii. Um, she at least talks about objective proof, and she every time she's got, her and the guy who wants to give her $1,000, they are second and third when polling is back in the day when I went to school to study to be a demographer. My first instructor said, "Okay, kids, I'm going to show you how to lie with numbers." So, survey says whatever you want it to say by how you ask the question, right? So if you have an objective, clear survey that kind of is trying to see where the voting public is, when Tessie Gabbard went up on the podium the first time and she hit, people who shouldn't even been up there, she was the most Googled of everybody, even Biden, and if Democrats pick Joey Boy to go up against Donnie Chump, then Donnie Chump's going to win. There's a guy, if you go look at Jimmy Dore, he has a buddy, he's a friend who's running for president, who's a comedian. And he's a smart guy. He went to a really good college. He, valedictorian. He's smart, and he says, that Trump is just a heckler, which he is. And the only way you can beat a heckler is with a comic, right? And, so I get heckled all the time, and basically I ignore it because, I'm not going to waste my time. And if they, kind of, get, take the buzz out of the live chat, well, yeah, I'll block them. I didn't even know how to do it until someone said, those little dots on the side, bring them down to that person and just hit, hide them, and bingo, they're gone. And so I am not against anyone who's got rough edges. I got rough edges, I'm all for it. But you have to be part of the conversation. And you have to bring something positive. So like people like Buddy and Fish and '09, and pretty much everybody came with a rough edge. And people, oh, give me the reg, I'll get rid of no. Well, let me be the administrator. No, I'm sorry. This is a cadre. We're all here together. We're all part of all our relations. So, hi, I'm your griot Sensei Al Bob, coming to you on our channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And I first and foremost want to tell you, hey, don't believe anything I say, I as a griot tell you stories that are supposed to marinate your brain cells so you can actually think outside the box, so you can actually suspend your disbelief, so you can actually question, be self-reflective about your life, because as Plato says, an unself-reflected life is not even worth living, right? So how many folks there are self-reflective? Think about what they're doing and what they're saying and how they affect people, right? I see that all the time in myself. I'm empathetic. I think with my heart and feel with my head. So when someone says something nasty to me, instead of me getting angry or upset or hurt or I feel so anxious, no, I kind of go, I wonder why they said that. What's going on in their mind. And so instead of putting emotions into that, I think about it, right? Whereas the other side of the coin is when something comes in front of my frame and I see how it's affecting others, like, cutting of the um, food stamps. My food stamps when I was, before I became 65, I died and I was disabled. When I was 64, going on 65, I was, really sick, couldn't walk, couldn't, they wanted to chop my legs off. So I was, poster child of being disabled. And so they gave me almost $1,000 in disability and gave me 190 something dollars in food stamps. Right now, 2 years after that, I became, I was more than 65 and living in Tennessee. Tennessee is really amazing. The federal government has given Tennessee in the last 10 years billions of dollars, almost $1 trillion, to help poor people. And the state of Tennessee decided not to give the money to the poor people that Congress gave them to give to the poor people. And so they've got almost $1 trillion in the piggy bank that they spend, on whatever, the legislature decides. More, you know, uh, jails and more this, that, more tax cuts for the rich, and they taking it from the money the federal government gave them to give to poor people, right? So now I get $481 in Social Security because now I'm, over 65, and that's what I get, and not disability, but Social Security, and that's not an entitlement. That was money I paid when I, you know, uh, worked, and the other side of the coin is now I get $54 worth of, food stamps. And, Donnie is now trying to, take food stamps away from 700,000 people now, and he wants them to work, 20 hours a week. So I get $54. I'm going to work 20 hours a week for $54, a month. So what would that work out to be? That would probably be working out up to be about, let's say, 4 into 54. Let's just make it 40 or 50, and that'd be like $10 a week and 20 hours a week into $10. So I would be making about, 32 cents an hour. It's like, and the less I eat, the healthier I am, right? So, um, you know, it's I'm just a little reflection of what's going on, and unless the general public educates itself, and does things like my friend did yesterday, go watch that video of her singing, and she took 50 kids and taught them how to sing, dance, write music, play instruments, and they put that on, make costumes, right? That was all done by young people between the ages of 12 and 18. They wrote the music, they wrote the lyrics, they wrote the, you know, everything. They performed it. My friend was, the artistic director. But everybody there, even until these young people became the choreographers, go watch it. And that's what one individual can do as an example. Now, my friend Bernadette, she is like a powerhouse and leads by example. She doesn't scream at people and tell them what to do. She leads by example, and the people follow her because they want to. Anyway, so they're all ready to get on the bus, So can you imagine? Every college would love to have that come to their school, and she would teach the students how to do that. That would be part of what we do. We'd be there for a week and get the student body energized and ignited into being co-creators of love. Gang, that's the only, building more nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers and hydrogen bombs ain't gonna make us safer. And when you look at who's attacking us, we're attacking ourselves. It's like, who was that guy who said, we met the enemy and the enemy's us? That's where we're at. So there's two of you. What do you guys think? The Last Ride of Joe Pace, Humility, Empathy. Yep, love, joy, peace, humility, empathy. Yep, that's it. You got it, Last Ride. So it's good to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you in a while. Where you been? What's up? That is a very, profound. Um, you almost need to have a period after each. Love, joy, peace, humility, empathy. Like. Right. Have you gone to my xratted.blogspot.com and looked at my novels and looked at my newest one, which is called Same as It Ever Was? Don't believe a word I'm saying. Did you take a look at that? Gang, I would love it if you would not only, get more people to subscribe, more thumbs up, all those kind of algorithmic things because there's close to 50,000 people watching this show. And there's only 344 subscribers. And there used to be 352. And those got somewhere they got lost, And it's not like, oh, I want more, I want to be monetized. No, this ain't going to be monetized. I just want people, because the people who like Ride here, who are part of the cadre, who come and chat, they are, being positive examples for the change that is needed, right? And like I keep saying, we got this window of opportunity, of like it's now 13 months. It started out 18 months ago, and it's now we're counting down, right? And what that is that I look and observe and see, and I don't, plug it through my subjective processor of my opinion, but I look at trends, and mostly long-term ones, not short-term ones, but long-term ones, like, 20,000 years, a million years, and they are more occult. I mean, you have to read you got to read the old sages of the Hebrew Old Testament. You got to go read the Torah. You have to read first century Christians that don't get reproduced. We see all these guys in the New Testament, and who the frack are these people? I didn't even know Jesus, and Jesus was the smartest one, most literate. He wrote a lot. So where are his testimonies? They didn't print them. Now they exist. You can go find them. They have been unearthed, and they are on the internet. Well, I don't know if they're still on the internet because so much stuff is disappearing. And we're supposed to be believing that, we got to be scared of global warming. And, first we had to be scared of the Nazis, and then the commies, and then, the breakaway countries like, state, terrorism like the, Gaddafi's and the Saddam Hussein's and, the Bashras and guys like that. But, guys like who are in the Philippines now, in Brazil and Turkey and a number of other, pretty fascist dudes. They're our buddies, it's same as it ever was. And that's what my novel's kind of about. Same as it ever was. But we can change it with what Ride talks of: love, joy, peace, humility, empathy, right? Love. What is love? Love is when you do not think about yourself. What makes you happy is making others happy, right? What is joy? Joy is a thing you share, right? You share. You have this great slice of cake. You give most of it away because you like that little taste of that cake, but you get more joy sharing it with others who go, wow, this is great. You shared this with me. Oh, that's joy. Peace is when wherever you are, who you are, and you are awake wherever you are, and you are there to serve love's co-creation by you only get involved when you can help someone, right? You only get involved when you can protect the innocent and get them out of harm's way. And you only get involved when you can learn something that will help others, right? And not because you want to be in the spotlight, but you want to be famous and rich and have a trophy spouse. And no, you know, you do it because you're humble. So this piece I put on last night from my phone from my friends putting this amazing piece of art about Kwanzaa um, on for the community and the city, the state, the National Endowment of the Arts. None of those people sponsor this woman. Now they have gotten her to do stuff for them because she's amazing and she'll do it, but they don't pay her. They don't. She runs a program during the summer where she has 50 to 60 kids. Consciousness, free will, ascended. Exactly. Why are we here? We here to, become rich and famous? No, we are here to wake up and to be conscious so we can take our free will and ascend into love's co-creation. And when all the souls that have a free will do this, we will, like a blink of an eye, be back home, right? In the bosom of love's co-creation, right? I'm glad to see you back, Ride. I've been missing you, buddy. So, and I keep talking about this alternative aesthetic, and the video I showed last night is a prime example of what I'm talking about. I mean, go watch that. They wrote these songs. They wrote the music. There's a chorus that's 30 young kids. And they're better than any chorus in any of the rich churches around here because they're singing with love, joy, peace, humility, and empathy. Right. And empathy is when you are part of. You are conscious of being part of the great link, that you're that pebble making the waves in the pond, right? And that's what's needed, just everything that Riot is saying here, love, joy, peace, humility, empathy. You see that in any of the political, social, economic, even cultural dynamics of the world today. Very little, right? And do you see anyone talking about conscious free will's ascension? No, very few. That is a pretty evolved point of view. Donnie Trump, I'm a stable genius. Really? Anyone who's smart doesn't say, hey, I'm smart. No. It's building expectations, So here we are. We're 13 months. And as of the new year, end of December, we will have 12 months, right? And so we're going to have a presidential election. It's going to go into high gear as of the new year. And unless people start, I want to see somebody talk about this: love, joy, peace, humility, empathy, conscious free will's ascension, and that's what is needed. Yep, illuminate the imaginary mirror, And these are all things that come naturally when you meditate, when I do a meditation, photonic light, casts no shadows, See how this incandescent light has a shadow? See, right? There's a light and a dark, right? And that's the world we live in. We live in a world, the present materialistic world is a world of shadows, right? So here it is, 25 minutes. There's two of you there. So why don't we do a guided meditation? Sound like a good idea, right? I mean, you're already in meditative state. I can tell that for sure. So we'll do this, right? And we're going to the thing we're going to look at in our guided meditation is all of what Ride has put forth. How can we manifest love and joy and peace? How can we be humble and empathetic? What are we experiencing when our conscious free will ascends? The illuminated imaginary mirror, which is where all the great thinkers, writers, etc. Like when I write, I'm not calling myself a great writer, but when I write I go into state and I write from the illuminated mirror, meaning I'm seeing it. I'm just like clicking and clicking and clicking on my keyboard. And I'm not thinking about sentence structure or grammar or whether I spell that word right. I'll go back and edit that. And in that process, I'm also in state. And yes, okay, so I misspelled that. And when I misspell a word, it's usually my subconscious and my higher conscious saying, hey, this is an interesting idea. At this word here, we're misspelling it for you, so you will think more about it for the reader, right? So all my writing is done, not me. It's not coming out of here. Where it's coming out of is love's co-creation coming out of my heart. And every time I do one of these live chats with you, again, it's not coming out of here. It's coming out of my heart from love's co-creation, right? And before I do this, that's kind of like why when I start up, I'm kind of sleepy because I've been meditating, and back in the day when I was, studying with my sensei in Putney, we'd all group meditate, which is a great thing to do, and that's why I like doing it with you guys on the live chat. I would be, and I'd be looking like Homer Simpson, and everyone would get annoyed because I was like interrupting their, they're trying to quiet their mind down. And Sensei would say to them, they say, Sensei, why don't you get rid of Al? Like put him outside, or tell him to shut up. Wake up. And Sensei would say, no, Al is actually very awake. He is in deep meditation, and if you guys would just shut up and hook up to where he's at, we could all talk without talking. Because Sensei said, he and I were telepathic of sorts, I mean, he was definitely, and he would just like talk straight into my head. And so, but it would work best when I was like snoring away, So, love's co-creation. So here we go, right? So everyone, put yourself in a rested position. So it's just you and me, Ride. The other person split. So okay, so just be you and me, Ride. So. Now you're breathing 20% in. And by breathing 20% in, you're quieting the squirrel in your head, Because to breathe that extra 20% in, you have to use your conscious mind. Because see, regular just, 14% of breath that we do when our autonomic system is breathing. It's just kind of keeping the bag of water alive. But that 20% illuminates us. Yes, I like that. Very good, Ride. To be so focused on what you're looking for that you overlook that thing you actually find. Exactly. Right. So, and that's what meditation is. You quiet the scroll down in your head so you can see everything. Right. And that's why when we illuminate ourselves by breathing in the prana. And by breathing in that 20%, we're lifting our diaphragm up, which enlarges our lungs, which allows the little cilia and our oleola, those little bags in our lungs, to receive the prana, right? And the prana goes into our blood and spins our blood like a generator. There's flows in our blood. It just doesn't go blub, 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 blub. It swirls through the veins, through the arteries, through the capillaries. And it doesn't just swirl one way, it swirls clockwise. And inside that clockwise swirl, there's another swirl going counterclockwise. And inside of that one, there's another one going parallax to it, 90 degrees. And what does that do? It makes scalar current in our blood. And that's why our blood is so iron rich. It's like a conductor of this current, right? And so then we breathe out 30%, because it makes it easier to breathe in that 20%. And also, our bodies expel more waste through our breath than through our piss or shit, our sweat, anything else, our tears. Our breath gets rid of more crap. So if we're breathing out 30% more, we are getting rid of all that crap, all the, and our air, we're being sprayed upon, and, all of that, transhuman, um, microscopic little machines that they're spraying into our atmosphere, we're breathing that in. And that allows the 5G to, make us the Internet of Things, But if you're breathing like this, can't do that, won't affect you. Why do you think I can do this? Because I meditate like this 5, 6, 20 times a day, And that's why the folks who are Islamic, right? They pray 5 times a day, right? I'd like to see some Christians pray 5 times a day. I'd like to see some Christians pray, 5 times a year, But Muslims do it 5 times a day, And when they are speaking their prayers, it's forcing them to breathe that way. And that's like in early Christianity, why, they got you to stand up, sit down, fight, 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 speak, sing. It caused you to breathe, to get yourself out of your head, right? So you could communicate with love's co-creation. So there you are, breathing deep, 20% in, 30% out, right? You are focusing your mind on ascending your free will's consciousness, right? And so you're breathing in the prana, it's going into your blood, it's carrying that current, that scalar current through your blood to every cell of your body. And as your mitosis, the cells are separating, the RNA zips apart, right? And it's being caused by that prana. And it zips because it's not only the prana doing it, it's the chi that you're grounded. So that's Father Sky and Mother Earth. And that's the yin and the yang that you are, right? So prana and the chi open up the cell, mitosis turns into two. But in that process, when the RNA kind of unzips the cell and the mitochondria that's totally energized by the prana, it's like little lightning bolts, right? It brings forth in your whole body, instead of this incandescent light of shadow, it brings forth the photonic light of truth and love and beauty, because there is no shadows. You can see everything for what it is. And that's what it was back in the days before the Tower of Babel. Everyone could read each other's minds. They didn't even have languages. They didn't write anything down. They didn't have to. And they were growing in their database so quickly. And that's why, computers today, especially, the computers that are, not just, silicon, they are like, string theory computers, photonic computers, that have these self-aware little self-teaching mechanisms in their algorithms. They are becoming self-aware, and now, garbage in, garbage out, so, and that's what we are. We are this kind of, at least our avatar, our soul up in that, celestial server of love's co-creation, not so much, but this, yes, we are somebody's machine, right? We have been manufactured. So, as you're breathing in the prana, and you are, turning it into photonic light in your cell structure, you illuminate your imaginary mirrors, and that's right behind your eyelids, and that's where you have REM sleep. That's where you dream. That's why this show is called Dreamy Dreamland, because it's where you're going with, when you become photonic. Yep, we are a point of attention, right? And the problem with the world around us today is a world of no attention. It's just blah, 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 and we are losing the point of why we're here, and that's the Lucifer agenda. It wants to distract us to the point where we forget who we are, and so we will be sucker punched for eternity, because time does not exist. It's a Luciferian illusion, right, of the incandescent world. Lucifer was the illuminated one, the light bringer, He's the guy who everything that's, there's the Illuminati, So, what we need to be is, our photonic self. A lot of people get disconcerted, not disconcerted. You make me feel anxious. Well, why is that? It's because I am who I am. I am awake. I'm aware. I'm a photonic character. So I don't fit anyone's little pre-conscribed thought of what I should be, what I am, And the other thing that happens is that is so different, but not, because it's who everyone is. I'm just aware of it. And I try to serve love's co-creation because that's who we are. And that's the attention that Ride's talking about. We are a point of attention, and that attention is love's co-creation of all our relations, right? But the majority of the bags of water on this planet in this moment of time, which is an illusion, time is an illusion, doesn't exist, It's a Luciferian thing, manufactured by the Big Bang. Big Bang is, again, an artificial construct, And because you read the Bible, in the beginning everything was black, and then there was the Word, That word came from that point when we lost the ability to communicate with each other without talking, right? Now we still can do that, through our amygdala. That's a little antenna, I mean, there are a number of things in our Constitution that the doctors have no idea what the frack they are, right? Just like any moron. So I had this very amazing, brilliant girlfriend who, she was probably the smartest computer scientist, since Turing. And her PhD thesis was an algorithm that allowed her to render three-dimensional images in two-dimensional computer digital space. And her first thing that she rendered was the lamp that is, the Disney company that makes all those animated films. She was their head computer girl, right? And she did that, and they got rid of her. She gave them that algorithm, and now they paid her pretty good, and it gave her Pixar. The girl who wrote the algorithm to made Pixar work. So she went off and she got to be the heads. She went to different colleges and did research she wanted. She was kind of like me. She was a itinerant scholar, but she had a very specific. I'm interested in everything. She was that, right? So she did that, and then she got a really good paying job with NBC, General Electric, and she made them a digital, algorithm to run their whole digital platform, so they could do graphics, for like the presidential election and all that kind of stuff. And but before then, we had a friend, Steve Rudd and Rudd Etra. What was Etra's last name? Steve Rudd and Louise Etra was a really smart one. She was Christine's good buddy, and she wrote those guys. She made their analog, so they could make things swing on the TV screen, and they could do graphics in an analog way, which was way tougher. And that was Louise Etra. I mean, did they give her any credit? No. But see, that beauty about that community was so small at the time. Everybody knew everything, and they knew these two girls were the smartest, period. And there was a couple other, and they were all women. The smartest people who made this digital revolution were women. I mean, look at moron boy Elon Musk. Someone once asked him, so who's you like to better, Edison or Tesla? And he goes, oh, Edison by far. And they go, so why is your company named Tesla? So, well, because we use Tesla's motor in our cars. So, and well, why do you like Edison? He goes, well, he made a lot of money. And he took advantage. He says every patent he did, it was somebody else's idea. He just was the guy who got the money for it. And that's what I want. So that's Elon Musk. So his rocketry business, is run by a woman. His rocket business would not be as successful if it wasn't for that woman. The golden thread. Yep. So when you illuminate yourself in your imaginary mirror, you turn everything to photonic white. And this is one little golden thread, right? And it's coming straight up through all your chakras, going up to that server. It's like the little twisted pair of wire going to your server, to this avatar here, right? Anyway, why I brought up Christine and all the girls was after she had, and basically the morons at NBC gave her a hard time, right? And her boss, Tom Alfieri, head of news. So Christine, she had it down. She had it down a year before, but the guys who she worked with had no idea what the heck she was doing. So they didn't know whether she got it. And most of them guys, no, she didn't know what she's doing, but she had it down, right? And so Tom, I used to, on the weekends, I would go keep Christine company in the big mainframe room, and she would have to come down and get me and bring me through security. So I was the first person in GE NBC history to ever get a security clearance and a little card with my picture on it, and didn't work for them. And Tom wanted me to work for him so he could pay me to stay Christine's boyfriend, to keep her happy. And I said, forget it. No. I'm there. I'm not going to be your employee. She's a person I care about, so. And when the common good is common, not a problem. But I'm always thinking about her, not about you. And so I gave up the paycheck. But we were tight, we were great, and we were sweet on each other because we cared and shared, and um, I appreciated her for everything that she was, right? And she didn't know anybody like that. She had a couple of teachers, but nobody like that. And so one of the things, so we went on a vacation and we had a great time, and you know, it was just before when she was supposed to hand over the thing, and I said, listen, a year before that, she would come home every night all upset because these guys were just treating her really bad. They were like trolling her basically. And I said, you are the racehorse, you are the valuable one. And so what you need is you need to go find a really good sexual harassment lawyer, in the job arena, and document everything they do. I mean, they would do stuff like crap in her desk, and really stupid, only thing that boys do. And document everything, and then just before you hand over the golden egg, you sue them because they're going to fire you the minute you give them that algorithm, right? And so she did, and she got herself a good lawyer, and that woman, was so Christine handed over the golden egg, and she got a nice check, and then she went on to a number of prestigious universities and ran their departments, and then she ended up at this think tank on Long Island where they got $100 million to do the human genome, right? And they said it was going to take 50 years. Well, she invented a machine. You see the picture of the machine, the robot doing the genetic test. She invented that, and the software and the algorithm to figure it out. And they did, looked at, got the whole human genome in less than 6 months, not in 50 years, 6 months. And again, she got a contract saying that she did that, she was going to get a big paycheck, which she did. Then she's got more PhDs than Carter has pills. And the bottom line was, she thought I was her lucky rabbit, right? And I just wanted to be her boyfriend and her friend and her buddy and a guy who looked out for her, right? And at a certain point, she just said, I don't know if this is going to work. And I said, well, it's what it is, que sera, sera. But I'll always love you. You'll always be my friend. I'll always be rooting for you, And that was 1980 something, So I haven't seen her since then, and or 90 something. And anyway, but most, that's why they call it mother of invention. And so you're still in a photonic meditative state, and you've just seen that whole little story. This is, I did this on purpose as being the griot. It's giving you a doorway, right? Your remote viewing into this subject matter, right? So that's pretty specific stuff without being specific, right? And that's what remote viewing is. And it's exactly what Ride was going on when, right here, to be focused on what you're looking for, that you're so focused on looking for, you overlook the thing you actually find. We are points of attention within the overself is support, the golden thread. I just, through telling you this very specific story about something nothing, that you don't know the particulars, but I was very specific, but without telling you any real details. If you, remote view this because you're in a meditative state right now, you can see all this, right? And by doing that, this is just another little I'm giving you, because when you're right there looking through your imaginary field, right, which is the doorway into your subconscious. This white photonic light, and you illuminate. And people are scared of their subconscious. They think of it as a scary place. No, it's simply a library. So you take that white light and you illuminate your subconscious, and you see things you've never seen before, because you walk in and right in front of you is the big fireplace of the eternal flame, and in front of that there's some very comfy chairs, like the one I'm sitting in right here, nice lounge chair here. And in front of that is your reading table and a very nice reading chair. And to your left is your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. And above is the photonic light source that lights up your reading table, so there are no shadows from what you see. And to your right are the 9 doors. And the one door right across from where you're sitting is the doorway into your superconscious mind, which is the sanctuary of your own choosing, right? So you walk in, you see the fireplace, you walk over to your reading table, you sit down at your chair, your librarian brings you your Akashic record. That's the record of everything in your soul's existence, right? Within the scope of this limited, Luciferian illusion. And the Akashic records there is your anchor to see what's going on, so you're not misguided by the illumination of the illuminated one, right? And so your librarian brings you the information, your animal totem, so you can see all this information in your Akashic record. You may not know what it means, right? Just like I just told you this little story, right? You may go, but you have no idea what the heck that was, right? What it was a little kind of, not a distraction, showing you a large, enlarging, instead of you look, like Ride says, you're so focused on this little thing, you're not seeing the big picture. By me just popping in the story of Christine and her little, 15-year experience before she became a demigod of computer science, she started a thing in the IEEE, which is the oldest electrical engineering entity on the planet, started by Ben Franklin. And she started, and in it to have these special groups, she started SIGGRAPH, a special computer graphics group, right? And so by telling you that story, I gave you this kind of energetic view, larger than that little spot there of you breathing and seeing your prana illuminate your cells. And that's a very microscopic thing. But when that little cell splits, the RNA zips up and there's that big chasm. That's eternal. That's, universal, eternal. And what you look down when that cell opens up, you will see love. And you will realize the only thing that exists is love's co-creation. Because when that cell breaks and makes 2 cells, that's love's co-creation, right? Tune the head with the heart, like that. So here we are, right? We're sitting down at our reading table and our reading chair, and our librarian has brought our Akashic record, and the whole room is made out of these big books. The fireplace, you thought they were stone. No, they were big Akashic records. There's all these shelves with all these books. And your librarian brings this gigantic book, puts it in front of you, and opens it up. And there's 2 blank pages. You put your hand on the right page, your left hand on the left page, and you lean into your book and you evacuate. You empty every bit of hate, anger, self-loathing, pity, all of those, pity for yourself, sorrow for yourself, disappointment of yourself. That's self-loathing. You get rid of all of that. You get rid of it. You evacuate it. And you put it in the book, right? all the miserable things that you've done, all the miserable things that have been done to you, that you think have been done to you, and when I was 6, this happened to me. Oh, when I was in 4th grade, they made fun of me because I was fat. Oh, my dad stepped on my foot. No, these are illusions, right? And you evacuate all of that, giving space for good thoughts, which will bring good words, which will bring good actions, which will bring good deeds, which will bring good outcomes. And the outcomes are something that we share with all our relations, right? Good and bad. So might as well have good ones. So tune the head with the heart, right? Ride. See, I've missed you, Ride. I'm glad you dove back into the pond. Doing good. So, and then you close the book, and boom, and you feel fine, you feel light, you feel cleansed, right? And you can do one of two things. You can reopen up the book, and you will see a big screen in front of you, and around it will be 28 little screens. And on that screen, you can see anything, and you can see it as text or movie, however you want to see it. And around it, those 28 screens give you 28 different perspectives. And within the construct of our present reality, within the scalar mathematics of torsion fields, there are 28 points of view, not just, up, down, and width and time, not just 4 dimensions. There are 28, right? In our own little universe here. And so, that's why we don't catch anything. We are so limited by our senses. We so believe. That's why I constantly begin and say over and over, don't believe anything I say. So there you are. You're looking at this. You close the book, you feel really good. So you can open it up and see that big screen and go on a journey, a venture, find something out you want to know your past lives, you want to know your see, you can't quite see, you can get trends of, see, I can't tell you what's gonna happen. I can tell you about the trends. I can see those using the Akashic record and my other little, shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic, alchemist thing. And the alchemy is to turn the base metals in our little bag of water into gold, that golden thread, right? That goes from our heart all the way up to wherever the server of our soul's free will is, right? So here we are, 57 minutes and 57 seconds. I love it when I see synchronistic time like that. So the other thing you can do, because you just emptied all of the anger, fear, self-loathing out of you, you're as light as a balloon. You can bounce out of your chair and float over to the doorway and go over the bridge of your id to your super conscious mind. Right. The other doors are locked. You can really. You can go into your sanctuary, right? And in your sanctuary, when you are taking that bridge and you are overstanding, meaning you're on top of the bridge and you're looking down at your sanctuary of your own choosing, and you can see everything. You can see the meadow of relaxation. You can see the gazebo of entertainment and understanding. You can see the pond of the great link. You can see the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. You can see the carnival. You can see, the house where you know yourself, the Oracle of Delphi, and you go in there and you find your own, you walk in those big doors that says above it, know thyself. And again, in that hallway, there are 9 doors. And there is also the coat room where you can go to other places. and you go into the Great Commons, and in front of you is the hedgerow longhouse, right? And um, it's a lodge, right? And if you go to the left, there's these little steps that go up to all your individual lodges. And if you go to the right, there's a great dining hall that's very straight out of Harry Potter. So, stepping out, slipping in. Yep, exactly. So, and that's what we're doing on this little ride. We're stepping out and we're slipping in, right? And I am not so much guiding this one, but giving you the opportunity, because as I bring you into state instead of just trying to be the you know your sensei, the teacher. No, I'm being more the griot, you know, because I'm showing you certain things that you may not understand, but by telling you stories that are relevant to this, even if they're on the sideman, like Ride says, stepping out to step in, you know, that's why this one's a little different than all the other um, live guided meditations I've done with you all so far. Because hey, I've been doing this now for almost 18 months, give or take, and I have to step up um, the curriculum a little bit, not do the same thing over and over and over again, not just be entertaining, and not just taking you into state like, wow, it's like doing drugs. No, this is a little different. So, and that's what, that's my job, at whatever point, it's not to, you know, this little dreamy dreamland with Sensei Bob is not about me. It's about all of you. What's making me happy isn't becoming rich and famous and going viral and blah, blah, blah. No, it's what makes me happy is to make you happy. And if the 344 of you guys and gals, um, and whatever, um, gets something out of this, you know, and takes it into your community and makes your community better, just like I showed you the video um, yesterday of, Bee's amazing production, you know, and this lady, if you're black, you've got a hard life ahead, unless you're coming from a rich family, then you're not black. You know, the level of economic, you know, limitations I have at the moment would make me a black person. And that's why in this country, it's really not race that's a discriminating dynamic; it's class. And every time, when Malcolm X talked about, evil whitey, that was fine. But when he went off to the Hajj and told every flavor of person at the Hajj, and he was a real Muslim, he said, and he came back with the realization that no, it's not color, it's not race that's the problem. It is class, right? And so that's when he had to die. And so when Martin Luther King, after he got his Nobel Prize and wore the monkey suit, you know, he came back and he started getting involved. He realized that there are all these black and Hispanic and poor people going off to Vietnam, but no white rich people going off to Vietnam unless they want to kill people. Um, you know, um, so then he started talking about class. He got shot too. When Kennedy went from being a rich guy and selfish and only wanting to get laid, and then because of his medical problems, his Dr. Feelgood kept giving him every drug known to man, and he had some interesting little experiences, and so he was, he first of all he realized he was going to die. I mean, he was a sick guy, but he's taking all these drugs to make him look good, but they also affected his, it expanded his mind, and so he realized that he was going to die so relatively soon. So he might as well try to really do something good. So he did. And then they killed him. Lincoln, when, he realized that because Lincoln failed at everything he ever did. Donald Trump loves to think of himself like the guy who um, Andrew Jackson, right? The really one of the more despicable presidents we've had. But they were all despicable. There isn't, really, even Jimmy Carter was despicable. And so Lincoln failed at everything he ever did, right? And so has Donald Trump. He's failed at everything he's done. And at the end of the Civil War, that's when Lincoln stepped up, the Gettysburg Address and a number of other speeches he gave, and that he wanted to step up, because he realized the war was not about, the slavery of black people, because the North had their own slaves called Irish immigrants. And no. And so he realized it was about a means of production, that the war was about whether we were going to be a, industrialized or a rural, right? And so he said, I'm not gonna, the powers that shouldn't be were pushing for corporations to have the constitutional rights of an individual, but not be responsible, right? And he said, over my dead body. And 5 weeks after he gave that speech, he died. So these aren't, these are pretty much, you look at these things. So now you're in state, and I've just mentioned a whole bunch of things that are flitting in front of your eyes over the screen of your Akashic record. And this is what's called remote viewing. And this is why you can see not just across the sea into somebody's drawers, but you can see all through time and space. You can see all the different lives you've lived. And you can see the trends that you're on. You can't see what's going to happen in the future because it hasn't happened quite yet. Trends have been, they're like lines, so they are there. That's why we're at this place of a window of opportunity. We really are. I mean, so, Donald Trump really has a great opportunity because everyone, he has such a low expectation. He could do something pretty amazing, just like Lincoln. Lincoln, they had low, nobody wanted, everyone knew the Civil War was coming. No one wanted to be president. So he was basically thrown under the bus, and he was given Johnson, who was a Southerner, but he stayed in the, it's like it goes on and on. And you can see all this stuff in your Akashic record. You can see what really happened. And that's why I had a pretty interesting career as a scholar, because I learned how to do this, when I was 19. Now, I didn't perfect it until, it took me 10, 15 years to really, 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 really be able to do that. And that's kind of what I do, And that's why when I give people cold readings, I used to do cold readings about lots of things, when I was in university. So they would say, here, take a look at this. What do you think this is? They wouldn't give me they wouldn't give me a textbook on it or anything. What do you think? And I would give a cold reading, and I'd write it down and give it to, the head cheese. And they would go, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then they would go, okay, you've got 6 months to go research this, go look at, we're giving you the key. That's what I was doing in that library in Dublin, in Trinity. I was in a library that most people don't get to go in, I had to wear like, a mask and gloves. And these gloves were like, I wore these gloves that went up to here. And then I had linen gloves over them, and I had a mask over this, and then I had a shield over that, right? And I also had to wear like kind of a white coat when I was reading these books, right? Because I wasn't, I was just learning how to read Sumerian and learning how to read ancient other languages, but I was cold reading them, meaning I was figuring out how to, because they were all in code, and they all had keys, and that's what I was sent in there to find the keys, right? and to break the code, not to really read it per se, but so other people could read it. And that's what I was doing there. And that's what I've done for the last 30 years, And I would always have, someone above me who really, like Archie in that department, he was one of the first people who wrote about us being, um, you know, you know, scholarly, in the 20th century, about us, that pyramids were really space alien ports and energy accumulators, and they were all over the planet, and there were these ley lines, and there were, because he had read everybody's everything, not just one culture, and that would be a scholastic who would, I know everything about just this little thing, right? So there you guys are, right? You're in your library, you got your Akashic record, and you can either float over to that doorway and go into your sanctuary of your own choosing, or you can open up the book. Why don't we open up the book for a second, right? Open up the book, right? And I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And as I do, you're going to go into a deeper and deeper and deeper state of relaxation. 1, your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. The squirrel in your head is asleep. You have no distractions. You're not thinking about your laundry list of useless things. And you are illuminated by photonic light. So there are no shadows in your mind, you know? And on that, you open up the book, and there's the big screen now with the 28 little screens around it. So, first thing I think might be good, look at what you came to this universe as. When the Big Bang happened, what was your first conscious realization? See it clearly on that screen. See it clearly now. And 1, you're in a deeper, deeper, deeper state of relaxation. You are looking into your Akashic record. You're seeing what you were first came here as with the Big Bang. And then I want you to see the first thing that you became in a material sense, a dust, a snowflake, whatever. See it clearly. As you see it on the big screen, the 28 little screens will go bling, 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 and you will get a view of that life, of that existence. And the 28 things won't just be different angles of it, but it'll be cognitive realizations of why you became a snowflake, or why you were a grain of sand, or, whatever, a hydrogen atom, whatever, right? See it clearly. And 1, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind has been totally quieted by your breath, right? You're breathing in that 20%, and you're breathing out that 30%, and you're doing it in a way where it's no longer uncomfortable, but it's the natural way of doing it. And the more and more you do this, the more and more you will be able to go easily into state. You will, easily be able to meditate. Well, I can't meditate because I can't quiet your mind, because you're not breathing 20% and breathing out 30. That's all you gotta do to go into state, go into meditation. So, and then you get illuminated by the prana coming in through your breath, grounded by your chi. You observe the mitosis of the cells in your body as the RNA zips open, and the mitochondria, that's all like little lightning bolts of prana being grounded, on the base of that cell into Mother Earth's chi, into the ley lines, and you are totally now in that circuit of the universal love's co-creation, which is the only truth there is, the only thing that exists. Everything else is illusion, and by illuminating yourself this way through pranic means, you are seeing why you're here, who you are, what you're doing here. Randy Lee, good to see you. I'd love to meet you. Get a hold of me and anybody else who wants me to come visit because I'm on the bop. I'm staying at my friend's farm right now, but maybe I'll be here till the new year. Maybe I'll be here a little after Christmas, whatever. But get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And leave your phone number if you're in America and I can call you up. I'll come visit you. I have no passport. Probably will never get one. And I did all my traveling around the world, right? And now I travel around the world without an airplane. I can just and be anywhere, right? Well, you can come visit me, but you're gonna have to wait till the spring because my deep green is like inhospitable in the winter. I've left it. You know, Elvis has left the building because it's out in the woods. I live under a tarp, and when it's 9 degrees below zero and 48 inches of snow, and I don't live right off the main highway. I live off a dirt road that goes to a logging road that goes to a country road that then goes to a county road, right? So it's hard for me to live there, and I have some doctors there, but not really the kind I have in Virginia. I've just spent 2 weeks being looked at by all my doctors, and I'm good to go for another 100 days, right? I got all my medicines, I got everything all lined up, and so let me come visit you, Josh Lee, and Randy Lee. And in the spring, you can come visit me, right? And I'm trying to put many a time I have put together cultural cruise, right? And we've done amazing things. And if you go to yesterday evening's show, my friend Bernadette put on a really amazing show, and that's the kind of thing I want to take around the country. And she wants to do it, and she has about 6 folks who are grown-ups who put that on with her, but the rest were all kids between the ages of 18 and 14. Now they got to go to school; they can't go on the road, but there is a solid group of that, and so you want to do that. There's a woman down on the coast who's dying to get herself a school boat and take her thing on the road, right? But she keeps bumping into things that get in her way, right? Well, she's got to realize why that's happening, right? So, do you have an email where we can contact you? Yes, you do. I do. It's called the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. And you can also go to I have a thing called Griot Publishing and put in xratted.blogspot.com and you'll see my novels there, right? So the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, right? That's where you can email me, right? In Maryland. Oh, that's not too far. Are you on the coast or are you? I guess most of Maryland is on the coast, but that's actually not too far from where I am. I'm kind of near West Virginia at the moment. So, yeah, Maryland's not that far. A wonderful warm meal and a spare bed. Yep. That's kind of all I need. And so, Josh and Randy, what is your community like? Do you have friends who are interested in the same stuff? Do you have belong to a book club? Is there a coffee shop? Is there a place where you hang? People who make music, who are involved in social activism. These are the foundation blocks that you need, right? And all of the folk who are still in state, and Randy and Josh, you are in state whether you know it or not by just coming on board here. You are, and all of you guys who are you should be like giving me some thumbs up and subscribing, right? Subscribe. Get your friends. Randy and Josh, you should have I have almost 1,000 of these shows on my channel here, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And you should get yourself a dartboard and bring your friends over and have a potluck dinner. And whoever has go to whoever house has the nicest screen, and you throw darts at the dartboard. When you get three numbers, that's the show you watch, because I got between 0 and 1,000 shows. So 001, that's the first one. 002, second one. 012, 033, 112. So go watch, because they're all pretty interesting. And if I've just kind of walked you through how to go into state. Breathe 20% in, 30% out. That's all you got to do to meditate. There's no other hokey mystic anything, because if you go watch, when I was actively doing the guided meditation here, you'll see what it is, right? It's like painting by numbers, right? It's a spiritual realization by numbers. So, 2, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation, going deeper and deeper. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath, and you have illuminated yourself and brought yourself into not a ton of that we have found. They're trying to find right groups. Like I said, go have potluck dinners and watch Sensei Al Bob on Dreamy Dreamland. Well, the thing about finding like-minded people is, don't struggle. Just be yourself, and they'll come to you. I mean, people come to me, every day. I meet if I go out amongst the folk, I make friends with 40, 50 people. I mean, the town of Roanoke, every town I live in, I don't stay there very long, but I stay there for 20, 30 years, right? I'm not there every day, right? It's like Roanoke. I'm not there every day, but I've been there for 25 years. And so I've done things with everybody there is, right? And yet I don't judge anybody. Yet I, just by my presence, I manifest a consciousness that they normally don't have, right? And sometimes that really annoys them, because it kind of causes a friction in their body. Every little cell of their body is doing this, because it's saying, we better change before we really get, sick, or miserable, or I'm already miserable. And so you kind of have to just be yourself, Josh and Mandy, just be yourself, period. Don't worry about it. Have fun. I mean, I never get bored. I'm always comfortable wherever I am. I can speak to hundreds of people without worrying about it. I can be all by myself. I've spent the last 225 days all by myself out in the national forest where the deep green is, right? Now, in that, of all those weeks, the months, every other day or so, I do this show, meaning where I am, there is no electromagnetic anything, no cable, no satellite, no internet, no electricity, no nothing. And Sawtooth Mountains, I hardly get radio, no television, no nothing interrupts me, right? But I can drive. Closest place is a country store, has a little coffee shop that has Wi-Fi. I go there and do my shows there, right? And there's a college town 40 miles in one direction and 50 miles in the other. And I go to those when I, want their facilities, and I go in and use their university facilities. No one seems to complain, I don't teach, I don't lecture, but I teach and lecture without having to teach and lecture, And I get to use their libraries, I get to use their computers, I get to use their laboratories. And, the people go, I don't know why I'm letting this guy do this, but I am. So that's all you got to do. And I don't do it, you know, by any real magic, Obi-Wan Kenobi, he wasn't a magician. He was just a Jedi. Jedi was basically just a sensei, a teacher, right? Now I have skills as a negotiator. That's kind of Jedi was a negotiator. Now I'm fairly well versed in martial arts, but I don't do it at all. I never had a fight. I don't have to. I can talk my way out of anything or into anything, And that's what I'm here to teach you guys, right? Laurel, Maryland area, to be exact, Beltway between DC and Baltimore. Is that off of 95? So we are a little further from the Deep Green. Yeah, Deep Green is in the easterly part of Tennessee. Deep Green is right where it's this very squirrely little triangle where over here is North Carolina, over here is Tennessee, over here is West Virginia, and over here is Virginia. Like within a 40-mile circle is that. And I'm surrounded by real affluence, but the 100 square miles that I live in is probably one of the deepest Appalachian poverty there is. Yeah, so off of 295, right where that, I got a speeding ticket there. Just as you come over the thing, it's like you can do 70 up here, and then you come down the hill, you got to be doing 45, and there are no lights. Yes, I know exactly where you guys live. Almost a police state. But so go on to anyone who wants to talk to me, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, right? Leave your phone number and I'll give you a buzz, right? And I would love to come visit you guys, especially, sometime after maybe, Christmas, after New Year's. My car is I'm keeping it alive with prayer and bubble gum. And it's hanging in there. I have to give it, pat on the back for hanging in there. And my mechanic who keeps it up, he's a holler mechanic. So he was going to fix a few things with it and only charge me about $200. Whereas Firestone wants to charge me $3,000 to fix the same stuff. Now, it rides along fine without fixing the stuff, but it still needs to be fixed if I'm going to do any real miles with it. So you could probably easily get to your house in one piece. And if you had a really good mechanic in your neighborhood, that'd be good. But anyway, I think we need to start off with you sending me your phone number at the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and then we can talk, right? So, and go read my novels. That gives a very good insight into me. I mean, so does the show. So, and two, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of conscious relaxation. The squirrel in your head is totally asleep, right? You put down the laundry list of, how am I going to pay my bills? Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I got to fix that. And you hear me going, I got my laundry list. I'm talking about my car. And that's part of living in the material world. I'm here with you. I'm right here with you. I got this little avatar right here. I died in a plate of spaghetti in 2008. And, it took me 3 years to climb out of death. They wanted to cut my legs off. They wanted to slice me open and give me a quadruple bypass. Didn't do it. Got a colonic, changed my diet, lost 270 pounds, did a lot of things that, that made me able to live now, right? Because when I died and I said, oh, wow, good, I'm dead. I can come home. And my master's on the other side. Oh, good to see you, Al. Here's a little party hat. Here's a balloon. Here's some cake. But no, you got to go back. I said, what? It's like the sixth time. Can I ever get it right? And I said, no, yeah, soon. But you haven't finished everything you said you were going to do, so you better go back and do it. Otherwise, you'll be reincarnated as a toad, and have to start from way back when, right? So you want to go to the retirement village in Shambhala. Go back. So here I am doing this, right? Because this is part of what I was sent here to do, and the threads came together where, okay, look, oh, I can do this. Okay, sounds good. Yes, off of 295. Yes. So and two, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation, going deeper and deeper. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You have taken that breath to illuminated your imaginary mirror by grounding the prana through your blood into your chi, Mother Earth, taking Father Sky and putting Mother Earth together, and observing the mitosis of your cells through your body and seeing the RNA zipping open and the mitochondria all lightning bolted up with prana, and you've taken that photonic light of that process and illuminated your imaginary mirror, which is your eyelids, where you have REM sleep, and you shined that light into your subconscious, which is not a scary place. It is simply a library of your everything you are. It's your Akashic record. And you walked in front of you, you see a big fireplace and the eternal flame. And that fireplace is not made out of stone, but books. And next to the fireplace, there are all these nice lounge chairs. I'm sitting in one of them. And in front of that is your reading table. And to the left is your librarian who brings you the information, your animal totem. That is your griot. You read something or see something in your Akashic record. You can see it, but you may not understand it, right? So you basically have your animal totem tell you a story that gives you insight, perspective, right? And that's what I do. I am your griot. I tell you a story. And that's what these live chats are. They are a shamanic exercise, ceremony of opening up your Akashic record so you can see who you really are, right? So there you are. You're looking at the screen. You're seeing your past lives. You see why you're here. You see what you're doing. You see the trends. You see the direction, right? And at this point, you are relieved, lightened, and you let things go, right? Things don't bother you anymore. Things let you go, right? Well, look at that. 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 33 seconds. I love it when I see that. A synchronistic moment. And every time you see a synchronistic moment, we were blessed now with digital clocks. So we can say 1111 or 2222. Those are synchronistic moments. 3333, whatever, right? Whenever you see that, oh, look at that. That's when you should pray, right? A good prayer is, bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, put your hand on my shoulder so you will keep me from evil, so I will do no harm. Another good prayer is the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without amen. And every day and every way we take the peace of the earth and we make it stronger by serving love's co-creation, which is the only thing that exists. All else is illusion. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and the hour of our death. Amen. Now, all these prayers, you might say, oh, they're awful Christian, but they're not. They are really ancient prayers. They have been, taken by different religions, which are strictly business plans. Virtually every religion is a business plan, right? Now, the spiritual experience, that's not a business plan. And within the construct of the avatar who first came to speak, that religion was turned into a business. Jesus was an avatar, a master, right? And he spoke of love's co-creation, of love's forgiveness, of the empathy of love. Muhammad, he wasn't quite the master. He was more a what did they call him? Prophet. He was a prophet. But his prophecy was that of hospitality, that we should share all we have with each other, right? And the Hebrew nation was all about the law and the justness of the law, right? But Judaism isn't. Hebrews, yes. Judaism, no. Judaism is another like religion, just like the Holy Roman Empire or any of the above. So that's where you need to get. You need to be illuminated, and go back to the beginning of this chat and read what the last ride, spoke to most of this chat until you guys started talking, right? Go read what he said. Here, let's go back. Let's see. I'll go back. Come on. So, last ride, he starts out with love, joy, peace, humility, empathy. We were talking about the things that mattered. Consciousness, free will, ascended. That's what we are. We aren't this avatar. We aren't this bag of water. We are our free-willed, ascended consciousness, right? And we illuminate the imaginary mirror, right, to see what's really going on. And we don't use incandescent light, because right now you can see this is shadow. This is incandescent light in here, where photonic light bounces every which way and there is no shadows. It illuminates everything. And back in the day, before the Babylon, tower was built, the first cell tower, the failure of that caused humanity. Before then, humanity was psychic. We could communicate, with each other without talking. We did not have logos, the word, right? We just thought and we communicated, right? We built, we thought, we built, we made. All this came from love's co-creation. And we were still so close to that original position, before Lucifer threw us out of the garden, because Lucifer got so pissed off with love's co-creation, creating us, with our free will, that like a petulant child, it just blew up, and that was the Big Bang. So we were thrust into the linear world that is an illusion, and for billions of years, just things went, the big explosion, right? And love's co-creation basically enabled us as a soul to have a timeout, and that was called the Garden of Eden, and that was going to be the shortcut back to love's co-creation. But Lucifer got in there and tempted us, and we had the original sin. And it wasn't the original sin. It was just, another lesson. That's all it is. With every cloud, there's a silver lining, right? So, Bride then says, photonic light casts no shadows, loves co creation. To be so focused on what you're looking for that you overlook the thing you actually find. We are points of attention, you know. Uh, Within the over self is support, the golden thread. Tune the head with the heart. And see, these are almost out of construct. You have to kind of go back and rewatch this whole thing because he's responding to the stuff I'm just kind of going on about. Stepping out, slipping in, right? And then you guys showed up and started talking about, hey, we'd love to see you, which I love, like, first off, get a hold of me at the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and we start talking. We go from there. And in the spring, everyone's invited. So, earlier, from May on, I was inviting everyone out to the Deep Green. And one guy showed up, right? He came all the way from the coast, and he took a 9-hour drive, and, he slept in parking lots, and he lasted 6 hours. He went right back home. And then I never heard a word from him. And it's hard to be on the bop. It's hard to, meditate, because it really isn't. It's the easiest thing to serve love's co-creation, right? The happiest I'm always is when I make others happy, right? And, when I made a lot of money, that's fine. And I started working when I was 9 because I, stepped into being an electrician. The thing I loved most was electricity. And so I was happy to wake up every day and go to work. It was not a problem. And when you love something and you're really good at it, they pay you pretty good. So I got paid pretty good for that. And that understanding of the electromagnetic spectrum and the other forces, the weak force, the strong force, the gravitational force, right? And then the other dark forces, the esoteric forces, they all came out of my understanding of the EMF. And because I was reading all of these other folk all the way back to the Greeks, they all understood this, right? And you look at Hippocrates, the guy, the Hippocratic Oath, doctor, do no harm, right? And his symbol of healing is the phoenix, born out of fire, out of death, and to rebirth. And it's on a sphere, which is this thing that keeps the center of the universe zipping around. And there's 2 snakes, right? And it's the DNA spiral, Now, here's a guy, a good, 12, 16,000 years ago who pegged, string theory, um, you know, um, and genetic engineering and, nanotechnology, right? The metaphor of his symbol is all 3 of those things. And he was talking about it 12, 16,000 years ago. So I started, my teachers who taught me to be an electrician were esoteric guys and gals. And so they were slipping this very deep information, just like I'm doing for you. Every one of these shows is more deep than you can understand. And if you watch each show by doing 20% in, 30% out, it'll be like a kaleidoscope of things that you've never seen before, never knew before, none of the above. So, Randy and Josh, quiet your mind down, breathe that 20% in and that 30% out. Illuminate your imaginary mirror with the prana and go into your subconscious and sit down at your reading table and open up your Akashic record and see all the past lives. All 4 of you. Look into that thing and look at the different lives you've had. See how they led to each other, right? And what path you're on. Because once you figure out what your path is, makes your life a lot easier, right? Then you don't have to worry about the laundry list. Things will just work out fine. Then you don't have to worry about what other people think of you. It'll work out fine. And if people are mean and cruel to you, you don't have to be mean and cruel back to them, because whatever they're doing, they're punishing themselves. 100, that old line about your parents spanking you is going to hurt me more than it is going to hurt you. Well, that's so true about any kind of violence of that nature, right? It hurts the person doing the violence, right? So just be there. Sunray, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Stay well. Glad to be joining here. So I am going to. Oh no, I guess I'm okay. My little gut is gurgling around, going, maybe you need to go to the bathroom. When you get old, when nature calls, you don't put it off, because it can slip out without you knowing, and then it gets messy. And who wants a mess? So there, everyone is. All 5 of you are in, and the others are in state. You're experiencing things you normally don't experience. You're seeing the world in a way that you normally don't see the world. And you may feel uncomfortable about it, but the thing that may even be more uncomfortable is the fact that you're not feeling uncomfortable. You're going, wow, this is really strange, and I think it's okay. Which may be outside your normal box of your reference of your life, right? And a lot of people, why we have wars and conflict and people scream at each other, because a lot of people, I wish, were happy killing someone who are trying to help them to not to be miserable, right? So that's where we are right now. So Sunray, tell us something. How you doing? What's going on? It's good to see you. It's right. Yes. Say thank you again, Ryan, for swinging it back into perspective. You are no less yourself. You are much more than yourself. Thank you. Very good. So we'll go back to breathing. And if anything pops up in your mind's eye, just put it on the live chat. We'll talk about it. And every day and every way, we take the piece of the earth and we make it stronger. And bless us indeed. Put your hand on our shoulder, enlarge our territory, keep us from evil so we do no harm. Spiral. So what was that spiral in your dream, Ray? Can be many things. Dreams are all about metaphors. So was it like a Ouroboros? Was it a conical shell? You know how a shell is a spiral? You pick up off the beach. Was it that? And that spiral is also the Phoenici numbers. They're these sacred numbers that, when you put it into a geometric theorem, geometry is the only math that I really like. All other maths are just there to try to explain something you can't explain to myself. According to C. Natives, it's about the rise of the spirit, spiral with everything that exists, right? Okay. Yes, and that's the shell, you know. It's the rise of the Akashic record. Yeah, okay. I see that. Yeah. And that spiral is the thing that takes us places, right? And yeah, there's tons of dimensional and aliens and you name it, but they don't have spaceships. They travel dimensionally. And in your Akashic record, the dimensional portal in your library is the fireplace. Just like Harry Potter zooms around, up people's chimneys, just like Santa. And that's kind of what Ray's talking about, that Ouroboros, that spiral, that conical shape. And it also brings forth total abundance. We live in an existence of abundance, not scarcity, right? It is just the selfishness of the very few that cause scarcity. What time? Oh, 11:15. I'm getting tired now. So it's 1:50. So around 2 hours and 2 minutes and 22 seconds. I will be signing off. Unless more people show up and more people add to the chat. So you've been introduced, Ray, to the Akashic record. What have you gotten from that? You've obviously had an experience. What has it done to your heart? And most people who have that experience, it changes them. They no longer. It enables them to suspend their disbelief. When we are stuck in our box, we disbelieve everything that's not in our box. But when we can ride the spiral, we're taken out of the box. So our mind is, enlarged, and enabled to see anything. And we don't believe in it. We just go, okay, what's that? So it opens up our mind. It wakens us up. So, Ray, have you had that experience of being awake? So you can see things you normally don't ever see? And that's what Dreamy Dreamland is here for, to give you the adept, the cadre, the chorus, the opportunity to see this, right? So, anybody out there have something to say about what they've been seeing lately? I started off yawning, almost going to sleep. So I'm a little more awake, but it's Betty Bye is calling me. Oh, look at that! 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 52 seconds. I'm going to pray now, okay? Ray, do you know what this is? This is a spiral. This is that shell I'm talking about, right? The horn of plenty. I like that. Everything around me was so weird, and it just became weird. It's not so weird, it's just what it is, weird. Well, fear is a big hindrance. There's really nothing to be scared of. So I came from a very big Catholic family, and I was the last one, right, the youngest. And my father was changing careers from being a colonel in the Air Force to trying to be a millionaire. But that in between stage, you don't have too much money. And he had 6 kids, so they lived in a little teeny house with my mom and all these kids. And so when they brought me home, they put me on a porch outside, and it was February, and they put me in a moldy dresser drawer. And after a few weeks, my grandma just, I'm taking him, right? She took me back, and her neighbor was a black woman who had these big mammary glands. She had just had a baby, so I got, you know, wet nursed because this lady had more milk than a cow, and her little black daughter was on one breast, and I was on the other. And I grew up with that little girl. She was like my sister, and so I had 7 years with my grandma, and now we didn't live too far from my grandma, so my grandma and I would walk over to my parents' house on Sunday, and we'd have Sunday with her, and sometimes Fridays because my grandma would cook dinner on Friday. But mostly I spent it with my grandma, so I was saved from the conflict and strife and fear of living with my parents and my feral brothers and sisters. And so when I was 7, I went back. So when I was, growing up with my grandma, by the time I was 4, I could walk around the neighborhood, no problem. Everybody knew me. And my grandma used to call me her little man, and so did Mamo. She used to call me her little man. So I was, a little man, right? I saw myself, and my dad would buy me a new Brooks Brothers suit. So I would, when I was younger, I would dress, I was motivated to look like my dad, right? So, I'd wear the 3-piece suit, my camel's hair, right? Anyway, but so when I was 7, my parents kind of moved out of that neighborhood into another neighborhood, which was more affluent, better school system. So I went there, and so I went there, and I, like the rest of my brothers and sisters, I went to a Catholic school, first grade. First kindergarten, I had a great teacher, Mrs. Gerling. I loved her. I wished I could have just, moved in with her. And but first grade, I had a just evil, not evil, but a sad nun. She was, had issues. And her whole life was about fear. It was during the Cold War, in the 1950s, and we were right in the shadow of the Empire State Building. We were like at ground zero, and every week we would have, the bell would ring, and we would get under our desks, and there was a big window, right? And I would never get out of my desk and get out of my seat and get out and then not get, get out of there. I said, sister, listen, we're at ground zero. Hydrogen bomb right there, blows up over our heads. The big flash incinerates us first. We just all burst into flame. And then the shock wave comes and breaks that big glass window into 1,000 shards of razor blades and slices us all up like, bologna, and we're on fire. We're like burning like the worst flames of hell, and then we're sliced up like bologna, and then the concussion wave hits us, and we are smudged into atoms. And that's when she grabbed me by the throat, pushed me up against the wall, and started beating me. She broke the orbit of this eye and my jaw. And I was about 7, right? And they wanted to put me, they were going to send me immediately to a Catholic mental institution and give me a lobotomy. And luckily, I had a godfather who was a cardinal and stepped in and brought me over to I stayed with what do you call those places where starts with an M, where they train you to be a priest, and they were Maranols, the best of all. They're the scholars of open-minded kind of men. Anyway, so that all happened when I was 7, and talk about being scared. being afraid. I never ever had any kind of sense of fear or anxiety growing up until that all happened to me. And, you know, getting my jaw broken in my eye, and I still can't see too well out of this eye. It kind of, and my brain works, way faster than my mouth can speak. So I had a stutter and a few other things, and these guys were instrumental in like putting me back into balance, right, and explaining what it all was. And my grandma did an amazing thing. We would go watch movies. She was a real movie buff, and we went to see the movie Forbidden Planet, and she made me sit in the front row. And this is like a theater of like 1,500 seats, gigantic theater. We're sitting up in the front. I'm looking straight up, and and this the you should go see the movie Forbidden Planet, Monsters from the Id, right? And and that's monsters from our inner consciousness, right? Way back here where we have no control over, right? And it's where the fight and flight fear mechanism is. Anyway, so I'm watching this monster movie, and because it was and how they did it, it was like the Star Wars of its time. I mean, the technology they had was, really amazing, and they used the theremin as their soundtrack. Anyway, go watch that movie, Forbidden Planet. Right? It's based on a Greek play which Shakespeare used to write a play, and the island of Dr. Moreau is based on. Anyway, so um, after movies, we would go to Schrafft's and have a Sunday, and I was like holding my neck and go, Grandma, why did we have to sit in the front row? Why did I have to sit in the front row? She sat a few things behind me, and she goes, well, Al, when you saw the monster, what did it? And so how they made the monster, because they didn't have computer graphics, was they made the movie in 70 millimeters, meaning the each frame was 70 millimeters, which was like about that big, right? So they etched, and it was in super duper Panavision color. It was amazing, right? And they had artists animating the monster when it was, on screen on each frame of the movie, right? So if I sat at the back of that monster would have looked really real, but sitting right up there, looking straight up at, you could almost see each frame. You could see that it was etched on there. And my grandma said, okay, because when I moved back to my parents after getting beaten up and all this kind of stuff, I was wetting the bed. I never wet the bed, right? And she goes, listen, you're wetting the bed because you're scared. You've just had these traumas, like one, right? Hey, you've been with me for 7 years, unconditional love, all these other people who loved you and took care of you and showed you amazing things and expanded your brain. And then you go to, shallow, petty, violent household, and then you go to this Catholic church where this nun beats you, and then they want to poke your brain out with an ice pick. Yeah, that would scare anybody. But you don't have to be scared, because life is just like that etched on monster in the movie, right? So from this point on, what you have to do is think. So when you were watching that, right, and you saw the monster, I know you thought of what you would do if you had to deal with that monster. And I said, yeah, you're right. So she goes, light and shadows. Yeah. What was it that you were going to do? I said, well, I kept, because where I was sitting in the middle of the theater looking straight up at the thing, I was between its legs. And I thought if it wore shoes with laces, I could run between its legs, tie the shoelaces together, because its legs were taller than its abdomen, so it couldn't reach down, and it would fall over. And then I could get away. And she goes, from now on, whenever you come into a situation that could be cause you fear from what you're going to experience, stop, right? Look at it as that monster. Look for the sneakers or shoes with shoelaces to tie together, and get the heck out of there. And that stopped me from ever being scared of anything, because what it did was slowed me down to the point where I would see the situation 3 blocks before it was coming towards me, right? And then when I learned martial arts, I had a great martial arts teacher, who taught me, the first, year of what we did. We learned how to breathe. We learned how to meditate. We learned how to make tea. We learned how to bathe before we even started in martial arts. Because those are all things that made us become aware of our the bag of water, right? And if you're going to deal in martial arts, that's what you're dealing with. So it gave you that perspective of time and space where you could see the trouble coming 3 blocks away. So instead of fighting, you just get out of the way. You walk a block the other direction. Unless you see innocence. If you see innocent people in harm's way, and you are capable of helping them, and you need to help them. That's why I do this show. I am capable of helping you, right? Getting you out of harm's way. That's what I'm here to do. Show you how to do it. Exercise, right? And so when you should be taking yourself into meditation 3, 4, 5. I meditate 5 to 20 times every day, right? And the more you do it, Yoshika, you are a beautiful woman. Okay, thank you. Were you calling me a beautiful woman or Sunray a beautiful woman? I'm not quite sure. But I barely can, these are the strongest Dollar Tree glasses they have, so I can kind of read this. Normally I have to wear like 5 pairs of glasses. Anyway. And everyone, we all start out biologically as women. When that sperm, hits that egg and it makes an ovum and it gets stuck on our mom's uterus wall there, we are a female entity until that blast of hormones comes and makes us either men, hits the switch of X or Y, right? And that's why we have LGBTQSYZ, MOUSE, is because nothing is either this or that. It's a gradating scale. And so within our culture, and the amazing thing is, if you read history, you will see, like in the Greeks and Romans, it was no big deal being homosexual. Everyone was kind of bisexual. So it's all like whatever flavor ice cream you like. So I was reaching about 2 different fish that change their gender on command. Well, command. Who knows who's given the command? Oh, everyone's joining. Oh, we've got a big number. Here's research, and there's Zallinger. I saw you on my Gmail, Z. Good to see you here. Yep, I'm heading to bed too. We've already gone past the time I said I was going to stop. So, anything interesting happened to you recently? Research or Zallinger? And Yushiki YH, I think is going to be easier enough for me to say. Where are you located, UH? And other than your ability to appreciate beauty, what else is on your mind? So I've been sitting here for 2 hours. That's almost, my body needs to move around Otherwise, it starts to rust. And I think I'm going to go get a glass of water and walk a little bit. I'll be right back. You guys chat amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. I don't fall over. I'll be right back. Okay. Back again. Oh, somebody joined us. Oh, we're talking. I'm too lazy to type it. Showed I had a connection with Sirius. Oh, the other night when I was filming it. It was really special. I'll be doing a video in the next few days discussing what happened. Oh, that's exciting. So, research. Have you doing research about the Mayan and Aztecs and other indigenous folk who were connected to Sirius and knew about it before modern science knew about it? Keep an eye on the channel. I'll post something soon on it. Good. Yep. Interesting stuff he does. Yeah. Okay. Staying tuned. Mm-hmm. Yep, that window of opportunity is with us. Yep. Yep, they had it all mapped out. And as my one of my mentors, Archie, he was the guy who was all about this in the early 1920s. He was at the big whoop-de-doo schools in England. He was Scottish, Earl's son, and he wrote all about this stuff. And people poo-pooed him, but he was really quite the scholar because he had it. It wasn't like he was making it up. He was translating these ancient texts. Then he started, because he had the money, and it was before after World War II. He was traveling all over the place, poking around in all these places, and they kept, and like in places like in Europe, in Ireland, in Scotland, in the United States, and South America, he kept on coming across pyramids everywhere. And this is before they had ground penetrating radar. And he's the guy who taught me how to dowse. And he could dowse anything. He was quite amazing. Such a word. So I knew more than, and most societies start. It was very interesting when you dig into this stuff. You realize that societies were at a higher level in the beginning, and as they evolved, they get worse. And that's what's kind of happening to our empire, our society. I mean, we were much better off when we back in the 1740s to the 1840s. That was really when we did some pretty interesting stuff. Like I said, Ben Franklin was almost ready to. I mean, he understood galvanic response with inside of capacitors to create a torsion field that made things lighter than air. I mean, he understood the basic physics, the electromagnetic, the EMF, and the strong force of gravital propulsion. He didn't have the materials handling to do it, but he understood it. His writings definitely show that. And that's why the French thought he was like the Albert Einstein of the time. He kind of was. Yes, some of our historical records are a disgrace, along with the institutions themselves, the way they bend truth, the way they lie, the way they cheat and steal. Yep, it is a disgrace. Hmm. And that's why I never became a scholastic, That's why I always kept, and I didn't even stay, a written in scholar. I was a itinerant scholar, because I like traveling. I liked being in different institutions and working for different people. And before they, when they still think you're the cool kid in town, they kind of pay you better than when they just get tired of you and just use you like an old horse. So, but as one of my I was at an institution where the guy who ran the place wanted me to take his place. And I was like, what? You got to be kidding me. It's just stop wearing your pajamas and get rid of those bunny, wear loafers and just slacks and a jacket, and you could take this place over. And I said, why would I want to do that? And he goes, because you're not a young kid anymore. I was like 42. And he goes, before you know it, you're going to want to retire. You're going to want to, have a safe place, a safe haven. And, this would be a good place for you. And he was probably, but I wouldn't have had the life I had, wouldn't have done all the things between then and now. But that's what he was talking about, that you're going to get to the place I am now, you know, living on $481 a month, and the material things are a little, but they always work out. They're not a problem. So, and I'm still doing amazing things, and I have amazing friends and amazing experiences, and living my life instead of just being comfortable. So, and I know, a lot of people have said this when they get my age. This is a better, while they go, this is the best time of your life. It's not so much that you're retired, you got money in the bank, you don't do anything. No, this is when you've had a lot of experiences. And if you're awake, you've had all these experiences, you can have even more. So if you've ever read Huxley's Doors to Perception, he goes into this a big time. Huxley, I'm a big fan of him. He was a written-in guy, so his books represented in a fashion what the powers that shouldn't be wanted to kind of, Brave New World was a good example. He was basically, but he came from a different point than Orwell, who was more or less, he was the powers that shouldn't be. And when he wrote 1984, he did it not to say, hey, kids, watch out for this, but hey, this is what's coming, and this is what I want to have happen. And but if you read Doors to Perception, he's talking about preparing to die, and he's giving, and so did Joseph Campbell talk about, his whole treatise on the hero. And the biggest heroic thing was at the end of the life of the hero, when the hero steps up and tries to pass the baton on to the younger folk, and not in a pejorative kind of way, but in a loving, gracious kind of way, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do. And so, and Huxley, I really love Huxley because Huxley went out that, he died, he took like 18 zillion, hits of the best acid from Switzerland. He went out on a rocket ship. So I don't know if I could do that. But, the thing about hallucinogenics and me, I don't need them. I can, in my dynamic of meditation, I can relinquish or set free those molecules of MDMA that are in my head. And I can have the MDMA experience without taking any drugs. It's me doing it. So, and I learned at a certain point that hallucinogens are okay as a getting you over the threshold, but you don't need them, and if continued use just becomes a party experience, and then it's like a negative response to a stimulus. But I did work in Ireland with a psychologist who used very, very, very small amounts of hallucinogens with his patients, and it did a lot. It freed them up. Because these people were like stuck, and so it kind of freed them up. So it had its good points too. To learn what lies and his story. There, Did you ever hear of a guy named Gil Scott Heron? He's got some great songs about history. How white Europeans stole Africa and the third world's resources. Yep. Well, it's in the club. If you're in the club, you know the path they are trying to lay out. Yep. New World Order. Yep. Mm-hmm. even those books on Trump from the 1890s. Yeah, Barron's whoop-de-doo trip. Yeah. And, The Simpsons, the Simpsons were pegging Donald Trump as president and changing, the trajectory of things. But the one saving grace of his story and all of that is that there's a thing called the unexpected consequence. That shit happens that even the New World Order can't prepare for. And it's usually for the better. um, so, Channel, did you go read my new novel on xratted.blogspot.com? And my new novel is Same as It Ever Was. Don't believe a word I say. Did you go read that one? You should give it a look. Yeah, everything is scripted. Nothing is not scripted, right? Yeah, well, the planet Earth is. I mean, the social political thing within our little orb is definitely scripted. I mean, we're a TV show. Either one of two things are happening. Either there is, I know Love's Co-Creation is doing this all, giving us the space and time to, choose freely what direction we want to go. And the other choice, which is my, impish flirtation concept, is that all we are is a TV show that hasn't been canceled yet. And when the audience gets bored with us, when we lose our ratings, we're just going to turn out the lights, and that's the atheist concept of death. Lights go out and there's nothing else. It's a TV show. They sell all the sets and costumes. Centuries in advance. Yep, just a TV show. Just as Gil Scott-Heron would say, just a grade B movie. I fell for the intuitive line of thinking because that's what made the most sense for me. I'm thinking time, but life, it's surrounding and all the script, really crazy to think about. Well, the bottom line is we have, the real deal is everything is an illusion. The only thing that truly exists is Love's Co-Creation. And, you just serve that and you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about any of the other erroneous materialistic motifs, because when you are stuck in that, then it is scripted crap. A spirit just came in here. This is a very haunted house, and he's sitting on top of a piece of furniture. There's all this ancient furniture in here from other people's lives, and they all are holding spirits. And the lady and guy who owns this place kind of know it, but they're not letting it go. So, but I spent a week here because they went off to see their kids outside of state for Thanksgiving. And so I kind of I made Thanksgiving dinner for all the ghosts, and I made all things they all liked, right? And I made big, platters of it. And the last 2 weeks I've been eating it because I don't have money to go out to restaurants or to, so, I spent about, I don't know, $30 on Thanksgiving. Lots of yams, lots of beans, lots of things that these spirits liked. And so as I eat them, they are experiencing the things I liked. So these guys and gals have taken a shine to me and are sweet and flirtatious and got a great sense of humor. They're not really mean or cruel. There's two that are kind of grumpy. But what's interesting is they have kind of, they kind of sit over here and read that. But they don't even have him. There's one up there, and he's like reading this. And the two grumpy ones were like looking at the trolls and basically said, "Oh, look at that. Let's go visit them." And so it gave them the ability to leave the restraint of this, you know, place. And they did. They left for a couple of days and came back and were giggling. They were like little schoolgirls. They just thought it was so much fun to annoy annoying people. They thought, for hundreds of years it was fun to scare people who could be scared. But because I'm not scared and I could see them and talk to them and ask them, just like I talked to you guys. And then they became part of the chat. They thought that was kind of fun too. So, but this guy's just came in and he's sitting up. And it's very not distracting, but interesting to see someone perched up on the top of a piece of furniture over there. A hutch that's, these ceilings are maybe, I don't know, 7 feet, and the hutch goes up about 5.5 feet. So he's sitting right up there. And he's got some pretty old clothes. He's probably 19th century guy. So anyway, what did they? Well, I don't know what they didn't really tell me. They just were laughing and said it was so much fun to troll trolls. They didn't go into because they don't really talk to me really per se. It's not like Topper or some, it's not like Hollywood ghosts. No, it's just their presence is there. I can feel whether they're happy, whether they're sad, whether they're, angry or whatever. And they went away and they came back and, basically they can communicate yes, no, and if I really spend the effort to like go into state and look in my Akashic record, they can it's like Gmail. They can write me stuff on my Akashic record. But other than that, they don't quite talk to me, But so anyway, they basically said it was just fun to, and then they said they got a tummy ache that doing that to the trolls was because those people were so sour that at first it was kind of fun. But the thing that they found most fun was that they were able to actually leave here. This was kind of a prison-esque thing. And it was like the buzz of all of the ghosts here that, wow. Well, so they all tried to go visit a troll or somebody else and found they could. And that was like me having to walk once my legs get too hard. They said, wow, this actually means we could probably leave this place and go someplace else or maybe move on. And so that was a very interesting conversation about last week. Was last Thursday Thanksgiving? Anyway, how to beg? how to better film them. The orbs, what I found about the orbs when I was into photographing them, I found that, um, so I used to be a professional photojournalist, right? So, I use large format cameras. I use 2.25, 3.25. I use Hasselblads and Rolleiflexes and Nikons but I married a real great photographer, Donna Ann McAdams. She's my first wife, and we had a studio, and we were quite successful at it. And our studio was DNA, right? We didn't use our names, just DNA, Donna and Al. And I was already in the art world a good deal, so I was a good schmoozer. I knew the art gallery guys. I knew the people on the boards of places like the Whitney and White Columns, and so we got into those shows. And at a certain point, after we had about 8 years or 10 years together as world travelers, so, just going all over the place and taking pictures of everything. And at a certain point, she just wanted to, I want to have a house, picket fence. She was a Cancer. They like to settle down. So I got her a house and that, and which made me have to start a business and make money. And anyway, so, but I'm still involved in everything I did. And at a certain point, she said, I don't want to do this studio with you anymore. I just want to have my own career. I said, okay, that's cool. And she goes, and you can't be a photographer. And you can't be. And I said, what? I said, I take pictures of everything. That's what I do. And she goes, no, you can't do that. But she goes, you paint, you sculpt, you're in theater, you're in, political, you do all these other things. No, I just want to have photography just for myself. And I said, well, I still have to document. And so she said, okay, that's fine. The only camera you can use is a throwaway camera. And any camera that you can find at Olin's, which was a really interesting old time photography, a place to buy cameras and film and all that kind of stuff. And the guy who owned the place, old guy, I known him for years. So, and he, when we had our studio, he sold us all our film and chemicals. And Donna, he liked her a lot. So anyway, so I told him this, well, Donna won't let me take pictures. I have to have throwaway cameras or. So he said, oh, I have the cameras for you. So he gave me these Canon dials, and they were the half frame cameras, right? And it was Canon came up with this idea, and it was a motor drive that you didn't have. It wasn't electric. It was wind up, right? You wound it up, and so if you had, it took 35 millimeter film, but it only used half of the frame per picture. So if you had a roll, a 36 exposure roll, you got 72 pictures, right? And I used to, would take the pictures with the realization of that frame would be another picture. So I would, edit or orchestrate or it was like a painting. So I would put two images together that would go, to make one picture, right? And she gave me a monetary, I couldn't spend any more than $10 on a camera, So he sold me a case of these other cameras called, what were they called? You used to get them at carnivals, and they were large format. They used 2.25 film. They would call the cheap man's Hasselblad, and basically you couldn't adjust the f-stop or the shutter speed, but they had a version where you could, right? And and they were so cheaply made, they had light leaks, right? So you had to kind of tape once you put the film in the camera. You had to I had to use electric tape to tape up the seams of the camera, so light would get in there. And the other cameras, the kind of throwaway cameras you get at Walmart's. So those were the three cameras I used in the um, late 70s and early 80s when I was still married to Donna. And what happened was, um, it it was like Correllian photography. It was like really amazing, because I was getting all kinds of apparitions and people. Oh, that's just a light. That's a flare. That's this, and orbs everywhere. Doing things. And so I really got into that. And then I had worked for Xerox and for Polaroid, and they used to give me cameras that they were designing, and I would try them out for them. So I had all these crazy cameras. And what was very interesting was that, because I already had, people would say, "So what are you shooting now?" And I said, "Well," and they said, "Why aren't you shooting with what happened to DNA?" I said, "Well, you know." Anyway, it was kind of I kind of realized once she said, "Oh, I don't want to take pictures with you anymore." Um, she basically, our relationship was, sooner rather than later, we were going to break up and a divorce, you know. So I knew that, so it was no big deal. So when we get divorced, it was amicable, very sweet, and it cost me all of $35. What it costs to pay for the form at the state, right? And when we went down and did the deed. I mean, we had no lawyers, we had no nothing, non-contested, kind of thing. And you know, she started to cry. And she goes, "I don't know, I don't know, I really love you, and you're the only man who's ever really da 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 da." And I said, "Well, okay." We were right at the court, and she started crying. I said, "I don't know if I really want to do this. I love you so much, and you're the only guy for me." And I said, "Okay, hey, and I don't want to get divorced. You're the one who wants to get divorced." Anyway, but one of the things that really pissed her off was, so there I was taking pictures, um, you know, uh, in within the constricts that which were very constrictive things, and I started people were buying my photos because there were pictures of orbs and ghosts and all kinds of you know um, poltergeists and you know those kind of paranormal things. And I was, part of that scene, as part of the Theosophical Society and U.S. Psychotronic Society and the Bowl Society, a lot of societies. And those people had, members that were really rich and collected art, and they saw my photos, and I got into a Whitney without Donna, and she didn't get in, and she was like really, and I was, using, a all my cameras, the camera and the film had to cost under $10. That was the restriction she put on. And, as an artist, I actually like having those kind of restrictions because it makes you, you know, stretch yourself, be more interesting. Yeah, I think I already did. They sent me a little thing. I had to, say that, I had to, push all kinds of little buttons and stuff to say that this isn't for kids and this isn't for that. And everybody did that. Yeah. So, I mean, if they want to get rid of me, they'll get rid of me. What can I say? And you had to do it online, and I'm not really good at that. I still can't start. Meaning, if we're going to have a conversation on my the dude awake 42 at Gmail, you have to start it, and then I can reply. But every time I try and send somebody something where I'm starting it off, it never works for me. I'm really a luddite. I think I'm worse, not worse, but stranger than a luddite. Luddites had an attitude. I just can't. Something gets in the way. So anyway, So yeah, okay. Now we're almost 3 hours. That's and there's still six of you there. And what's really interesting? I cannot explain this. So right now there's four thumbs up. Right. 2 nights ago we had a really nice chat. Had maybe 18 people on, and I had about 12 thumbs up. Right. Next morning I go back and I find there's always six thumbs down, meaning it's the trolls, right? It's either one troll who has six, Gmail accounts or who knows. But those 12, 18 thumbs up, we're down to four. I mean, I don't understand how that could happen. Yes, when there's, like this house is super duper haunted. So when I came here and everything was creaking because this is a house that was, I'm pretty sure it was a slave because it was part of a, southern plantation, and this house was, a ridge, 1812, I think the first, and there's like 12 different sections that were added on, right? So like a Lego house, and like where I'm sleeping is down in the basement. And to get to it, I have to go through a hallway between, you walk through a closet, and in the back of the closet, there's a hallway that goes into this dead end of a, where another part of the house is, and there's a staircase that goes down. So that's very weird. And there's three other little hallways between two other things, and there's like holes in the wall so people who were in the hallway could watch the people in the rooms. I mean, this has some very strange energy. And like I said, the place has been here since 1812. So, um, and the wiring is very, that's one thing I did for these folks. I fixed a bunch of things for them. But so it's, so so they seem to like me and are nice to me, and they're nice. The people who own this place have, it's been in their families forever, so they're kind of genetically okay with it. But other people come here freak out. I've been to parties here where people just ran out of the place. So anyway, so I'm about to like conk out. Oh, all six of you, give me thumbs up. So it was a nice one. It was good to see everyone. Taz, it's good to see you. Are you signing? Yeah, I signed the YouTube thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just stay on. Like I said, if they want to get rid of you, it's like that Eleanor woman. They got rid of her for no real seeming reason. I have some friends who have a farm up right on the border of West Virginia, kind of above. When you get to come visit, I would love to get you to take on the energy in the forest behind our house. Take on? Well, I'll go visit it. I never like to wrestle energy. I'm more a visitor and a chatter with it. To, you it's like how I deal with dogs. Paranormal energies I view as a dog. Yeah, dogs can. I There isn't a dog I've ever met that I didn't like. I'm a dog boy. But there's some dogs that are pretty nasty, if they want to be, And I've had some pretty nasty dogs. I had a Rhodesian Ridgeback, which were bred to fight lions. These dogs are, but they're the sweetest things you ever could. And same with the pit bulls. I've had a lot of pit bulls, and they're really sweet dogs. It's just, they have issues. But yeah, I'll go walk in your forest. Get my opinion. Okay. I can almost, Josh, I can actually talk to you a little on the phone and give you my opinion. I mean, I want to come visit you and I'll go in your forest, but I'm almost picking up things about it right now, and I'd have to talk to you about things about it. So it's not my projection. You'd have to describe it to me a little bit. You'd have to, and I would like, even if I came and visited it, um, I would like to talk to you about it before I come. It's a process, right? So I'm picking up things about it right now, and there's some ley line energy definitely strong there, and there's some interesting waters underneath the property, and in the woods, and a lot of things happen there. You know, people dying, fighting, but those aren't bad. I mean, they're just things that happen. Okay, buddy. Sounds like a plan. And so maybe I'll stick around for another 10 minutes since it'll be 3 hours then. So, and the more I talk, it's interesting how time is so malleable. I can be looking at something, waiting for it to happen. It'll take forever for 2 or 3 minutes to go by. I can just kind of, talk about something, and 20 minutes will go by, and it'll seem like a second or two. Show us the basement. There's no light. Sorry. I mean, I could show you. Well, not at the moment, because people are asleep, and so I'd have to go into one person's room and into the bedroom and through their closet, and at another time I'll show you them. Actually, I showed it. If you go back 3 or 4 shows, maybe 5 shows, I showed the staircase. I showed the closets that you had to go in, and the staircase. So you can go look at that. So Tats, where are you from? And why are you terrible? You can't be terrible. So what do you do, Tats? You're in California. What part of California? North or south? What little town or big city are you in? And do you know the lady who runs the StopTheCrime.com channel? You live in the mountains or in the coasts? Oh, you're a tattoo artist. I have lots of tattoo artist friends. What stylistic motif is your tattoo work? Not political. Okay. So is it abstract? Is it cartoonish? Very colorful, black and white, Japanese? Do you have a shop? Do you, so I have a lot of tattoo friends, and there's like 2 schools that I've noticed. One is people who have shops, and they're like friends, and culture revolves around the shop. Well, there's 3. There's that, right? And then there's people who have like a truck or a van or something, and they go to shows, right? And they're either into music, and they go to concerts, and they're out in the parking lot, and or in the venue area. And I do a lot of custom art. Huh. So what's the custom about it? I mean, every tattoo is kind of that's not true. I have a tattoo and I had it done by a blind guy. And he used to have stencils, and you'd pick out the stencil, and he would just go, and they were plastic, and he would push it on your whatever part of the body you wanted on, and he would go and go around it, and then it would be just black ink or whatever color ink you wanted it. And if you wanted it filled in, he made you do that yourself, right? So that was the most, industrial tattoo experience I had. But most people are definitely artists, that's for sure. So do you go to tattoo shows? Do you compete? Are you part of the tattoo culture? And I've never really seen, tattoo art that's too political, that's political. I mean, the individual may have a statement that they may want the tattoo artist to put across, but I've never really met too many tattoo artists that are quote unquote political, like conservative or liberal or any of that. Oh, look at that. 2:55. Taz, all of your answers are very generic. They're not really too representative. Meaning, all the tattoo artists and like I said, I know a lot of tattoo artists. They are. Am I looking for some ink? No. Taz, did you ever read The Illustrated Man by, what's that guy's name? Anyway, the person had so many tattoos that they had a life of their own, right? And anyway, I have one tattoo, and that's all I have. And I put it on my back so I can't see it. Because then I could see it, I might get another tattoo. So I only have one tattoo. But I have friends who have their faces tattooed and their whole bodies tattooed. Like I said, I used to work in a carnival one summer, and so I met a lot of gypsies. And being the anthropologist I am and sociologist, I kind of, was very enamored by these cultures, and they liked me because I wasn't judgmental, and I kind of worked in the carnival as the electrician. I always fixed everything, so everybody. Actually, even though I wasn't a gypsy, I wasn't part of the clan. I was part of the family, right? And how I really learned how to read palms and do all the cold reading I do, the palmistress, a woman, the guy. Basically, I was hanging out in this town, and the generator, because most carnivals they need a lot of electricity, right? Because all of those rides each have a 500 horse motor, easy, three-phase. So, they can't just pull into any place and get that much electricity. So they all have a pretty big diesel generator, right? At least a 500K, right? And unless you know how to keep the thing working, it can easily go wacko on you. And then your rides and your lights and everything that makes the carnival whoop-de-doo doesn't work. So I was at a carnival in this town that kind of just cruised in, and look, a carnival. And I went to it, and I was like there, and they were trying to get it together, they hadn't, opened it up, and the inspector was there because, they got all these rides that are zipping around that, if they weren't really in good shape, they could kill a lot of people. So, anyway, I'm there, and I knew the inspector. I knew this town. I was an electrician in that part of the country. So, I mean, I wasn't born there, didn't know everybody, but I knew a lot of people. I've been there for a while, and uh, 11. I mean, that's love and hate on my knuckles. I could do that with a knitting. No. You know, would no. I have one tattoo, and that's all I need. But anyway, so I was there at this carnival, and the gen blew up, right? And things electrically just went downhill. And the inspector said, "Okay, you're not getting the permit to open this thing." And I went over and said, "Hey, what's wrong?" And he said, "Well, this," and they have no one to fix it, and so they can't run. I said, "Well, I'll do it," right? And the owner was there, and says to the inspector, "You know this guy? Oh yeah, he's a good electrician. Yep. He, if he says he'll fix it, I'll give you the permit." So I said, "Yeah, I'll take care of it. I'll get it done in 2 days. You can come back before they open, check it all out." Okay. So I did it, bing, bang, boom. And the guy was like, "Wow." So he said, he says, "So what do you want?" I said, "Well, what was it worth to you?" He goes, "It was worth like 10 grand to me." And I said, "Oh, okay. So give me 10 grand." He goes, "I got a better offer for you. What are you doing for the rest of the summer?" And I said, "Well, not really. I don't have any contracts to do anything." And I said, "I'm ready for a vacation." He goes, "Well, how would you like to be part of a carnival?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds kind of fun." So he said, "I'll give you 1,000 a week, for 15 weeks. How about that?" And I said, "Yeah, and I'll pay all your expenses. I'll give you a place to stay, food, everything." Um, you know, and I said, "Great. Where am I going to stay?" And he walks me over to this, trailer, and knocks on the door, and this very beautiful woman comes out, and she is the reader advisor. And he goes, "You can, she got a little part in her trailer that you can squeeze yourself into." She looks at me, I look at her, and she goes, "Well, I have to okay him." And he kind of rolls his eyes, and he goes, "Okay, but don't let it get in the way of him getting this thing rolling by, in 2 days." And so, she, you know, takes me out in a way that I've said, "Oh, this is nice." So we became fast buddies, and sweet on each other. And I made her my electrical helper, and she taught me everything she knew about reading people, and that was a lot. She was a brilliant woman. She had, studied psychology, and you name it, anything that dealt with the paranormal, psychology, you name it. She had gone to some amazing universities, and she was like me, an itinerant scholar. So we really kind of hit on those 15 weeks. We had a lot of fun, and half of these people were gypsies, and they were Romas. And when I lived in Ireland, I hung out with gypsies and Romas, and Taz. Um, I appreciate all of your offers, but no thanks. So, that was kind of interesting. So I was introduced, and in the art world in New York, um, they were there was a lot of in the '80s tattoo art as art, So that was my experience with tattooing, and um, the dynamic of every tattoo artist I ever met, and it's like probably in the hundreds, they were all extraordinarily clear, precise, really interesting, really specific about the kind of work they did. One thing I could say about tattoo artists that I've met, none of them were generalistic. I mean, if you asked a question, they give you a really specific answer. Right? And they were not generically, what's the term? Scatological. So, and that's one reason why I just kind of took tats out of the conversation, because he's terrible tats, right? And virtually all the other whatchamacallits, trolls have been some kind of nasty something. So, and this tats did not fit any characteristic, because I asked very specific questions. So here's a good example, gang, of how you. I don't like the word profile, but look at an individual and where they're coming from, right? And so, here we are. Oh, look at that! It's coming up on 3 hours, 5 minutes, and 55 seconds. Just happened. So I think it's a good time we say goodnight. This was a great little chat we had. I love you all. Stay well. Be good. Okay. See you tomorrow. And from West Virginia, I say goodnight.